The Three Peaks Challenge, July 2020. I was living in Australia and my brother WhatsApped me in January saying he wanted to take on the Three Peaks Challenge in the summer. He asked me if I was up for it, as I was planning on returning home in May. Obviously the whole pandemic happened, so I come home when my visa was up in March, and in the lockdown I was just taking advantage of my outdoor time, doing a bit of cardio to train and still lifting weights about 5 days a week. Once lockdown ended, we started going up the lakes and doing the odd mountain every other weekend. We both landscape, so we're fairly fit anyway because our job's physical. We decided on a date in July when we was talking about it in work. It was a few weeks beforehand, hoping the weather would be decent, and we were going to attempt it on a Monday, basically to avoid traffic. We ended up booking a campsite for the Sunday called the Nevis Holiday Camp, as it was the only one available for the date we chose. We ended up getting my dad insured on my brother's Vivaro, and he was our driver for the challenge. We arrived at the campsite at 6 PM. Set up, made some food, and we had a few beers and chilled out and went to bed around 10. We was up at 5 AM for the 6:30 start on Ben Nevis. My dad dropped us off at the Ben Nevis Inn and bunkhouse, which is at the bottom of the tourist path, to start the challenge. It was about 10 minutes from the campsite and my dad was going to go back, take the tent down before picking us up later on. We started the challenge at 6:30 as planned. We both hadn't done Ben Nevis before, but we had downloaded the maps on View Ranger and done our research beforehand about the route. The time we had in mind was around 4 hours and 30 minutes to complete it. Our plan was to push as quick as possible with minimal rest on Ben Nevis, and do the same on Scarfell to leave us more time to do Snowdon in the night. We pushed the pace for around an hour until we reached the tarn, which is halfway up the mountain. The weather had been good, but it started to get misty, so the visibility wasn't great. The zigzag part was tough, but we just cracked on through it. We did end up taking a 2-minute rest at one stage to have some food and drink. We were both carrying minimal weight for our food and drink. I always tend to take 4 500ml bottles of Lucozade Sport, just for the carbs and the electrolytes in them. Food-wise was dried fruit and nuts, and a few of those Nature Valley bars which are full of sugar. We had loads of food in the van to eat later on our way to Scarfell anyway, so we wasn't messing about taking loads of breaks on the mountain. We pushed on to the summit through the mist, and not far from the top was a big patch of snow, and it was completely freezing up there. I'd only been in my t-shirt as I put my coat away as I was sweating earlier on, and I literally couldn't even feel my hands at that point anymore by the time we reached the summit. We summited at 8:40 in 2 hours and 10 minutes. Because we hadn't been on Ben Nevis before, we had a little look around and climbed into the shelter to see what it was like inside, which wasted a bit of time but wasn't a big deal. We both felt good after the little rest messing about at the top and started heading down. We was moving at a fast pace and people were starting to head up to the summit. As we were going down, a few people stopped us to talk, and we had to tell them we were doing the challenge. We ended up getting back to the van at 10:23, so our time ended up being 3 hours and 53 minutes, which was nearly 40 minutes ahead of what we had planned. We had a quick toilet break, then started our drive to Scarfell. We was looking at getting there in around 6 hours, and with it being a Monday, driving through Scotland was fairly decent. The roads wasn't too busy, but when we were on the motorway in Glasgow, something bounced across the road and hit the van. We thought nothing of it at first, but a few miles down the road we started to hear a funny noise. So we had to pull over on the hard shoulder. Whatever had hit the van had snapped the engine guard on the underneath of the bodywork. So we drove into the nearest town and had a proper look. It ended up adding 45 minutes to the journey, and luckily we had some zip ties in the van to keep the guard in place until it could be fixed. We arrived at Wasdale Head at around 4:40 PM. Quickly sorted our gear out and then set off for Scarfell Summit at 4:52. We had a time of around 3.5 hours in mind, although my brother had previously done it in 2:45. It was pretty busy as we started to head up, as most people were coming down from the top. We both felt good until you hit the stair section. Obviously we were fatigued from earlier on, but we just pushed through the burn. I was slowing down a bit behind my brother, and I just started eating a handful of jelly babies whilst I walked. Even though it felt like we were going slow, we were passing everyone. We got there at 6:16 in 1 hour and 24 minutes, which we were both completely surprised by, as we didn't think we were even going that fast. We took a few pictures at the top and had a quick rest. We were both confident enough that we could jog back down safely and just went for it. At some points though, we were literally sprinting. It was a risky tactic, but it ended up paying off. The only problem was the soles on my boots had both ripped off, which we couldn't stop laughing about. And we got back to the van at 7:14, and it ended up taking 2 hours and 22 minutes in total. Our Keith couldn't believe we had took over 20 minutes off his best time. We set straight off for Snowdon, knowing we had over 11 hours to complete the challenge. We was well ahead of schedule. We even had time to stop off at the services for a quick Burger King, and we went to a garage in Rill to grab some beers to celebrate if we actually completed the challenge. We arrived at the Penny Pass car park at around 12:10 with over 6 hours to get up and down. We had a quick sort out of our gear, got our stuff for the night. We set off at 12:24 AM. It was pitch black and we were hoping for some moonlight, but with it being cloudy, couldn't see anything without a headlamp. It went smooth for about 30 minutes, then we realised our Keith's head torch was pretty crap. We was lucky we had loads of time to spare because navigating in the pitch black was pretty hard and it slowed us down a lot. At one stage, about an hour and a half in, I had a bad dip in my energy and I felt literally exhausted, so the fatigue was starting to kick in. We both hadn't really slept the whole day. Luckily our Keith had some of those banana chips, and I ended up eating most of a bag and got a big burst of energy back in to carry on. We pushed on and summited Snowdon at 2:34 AM, 2 hours and 10 minutes after we set off. As we were well ahead of schedule, we took a couple of photos and got straight back on the pig track. We were both tired, so we agreed to get down as safely as possible rather than racing for time. We even seen a few people coming up as we were returning, as they were all coming up for the sunrise. We ended up getting back to the van at 4:19 AM and I stopped the tracker on my View Ranger app, so essentially that was the time I was going off. We finished the challenge in 21 hours and 49 minutes. We were both proper buzzing, but I think we were both happy to just get it finished. We ended up cracking a beer to celebrate, but I literally could have went asleep on the spot. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I have linked my View Ranger route in the description if anyone wants to have a look.